Why you keep second-guessing yourself. A bold truth. You weren't born doubting yourself. Read that again. You weren't born lying awake at 2 a.m. replaying a conversation. You weren't born typing a message, deleting it, retyping it, deleting it again. You weren't born asking 3 friends for advice about a decision you already knew the answer to. So here's the real question. What happened? Because somewhere along the way, a confident version of you slowly turned into someone who double-checks their own feelings. And today, we're going to talk about that. Not in a clinical way, not in a fix-yourself way, but like 2 people sitting down having an honest conversation about what's really going on inside your head. By the end of this video, you'll understand the 3 hidden reasons you keep second-guessing yourself, the 5-mile mental journey that got you here, and a simple one to framework reset you can start using immediately. I won't just tell you what's wrong. I'll show you how to get your clarity back. And trust me, it's still there. Part 1, the moment it started. Let me tell you a quick story. There was a time when you trusted your instincts. You'd feel something was off, and you'd act on it. You'd like someone, and you'd say it. You'd dislike something, and you'd step away. It wasn't dramatic, it was natural. Then something subtle began to happen. You expressed a feeling, and someone said, "You're overreacting." You brought up a concern, and someone laughed it off. You set a boundary, and someone called you selfish. Small moments, tiny corrections, little dismissals. At first you brushed them off, but here's what most people don't realize. Self-doubt doesn't start with insecurity. It starts with repeated invalidation. And invalidation doesn't always look loud or abusive. Sometimes it sounds like, "That's not what I meant. You're remembering it wrong. Why are you making this a big deal?" And slowly, you begin adjusting the 5-mile journey into self-doubt. Think of second-guessing like a 5-mile walk. No one wakes up 5 miles away from their confidence. They walk there. Let's break it down. Mile 1, confusion, something feels off. But the other person seems calm, certain, convincing. So you think, maybe I misunderstood. That's not weakness, that's empathy. You give people the benefit of the doubt. But here's the shift. Instead of holding your perspective alongside theirs, you start replacing yours with theirs. Mile 2, self-questioning. Now you start reviewing yourself. Did I say it wrong? Was my tone weird? Am I too sensitive? Notice what's happening. The spotlight has moved. It's no longer on the situation, it's on you. Mile 3, self-blame. Now it's automatic. You apologize before you understand what you did. You say sorry just to stabilize things. You take responsibility for emotional weather that wasn't yours. And it feels easier than conflict. But something else is happening quietly. Your brain is learning, my perspective is unsafe. Mile 4, hyperanalysis. This is where overthinking kicks in. You rehearse conversations in the shower. You draft texts in your notes app. You imagine 10 outcomes before sending one message. You don't call it fear, you call it being careful. But careful with what? Rejection? Anger? Disconnection? Now we're getting somewhere. Mile 5, identity shift. This is the part that hurts. You don't just doubt situations, you doubt yourself. I don't trust my judgment. I'm bad at reading people. I always mess things up. And that's when second guessing becomes your personality. But it's not your personality, it's conditioning. The 3 hidden reasons you keep second guessing yourself. Now let's simplify this. There are 3 core drivers behind chronic self-doubt. And once you see them clearly, they lose their power. Reason 1, you were trained to prioritize harmony over honesty. Somewhere along the line, peace became more important than truth. You learned that speaking fully could cause tension, so you started editing yourself, shortening your thoughts, softening your tone, waiting for the right moment. But here's the problem. When harmony becomes your highest goal, your intuition becomes negotiable. And when your intuition becomes negotiable, you stop trusting it. Let me ask you something. When you make a decision, is your first thought, what do I want? Or how will this affect them? Be honest. Reason 2, you confuse doubt with responsibility. You think second guessing makes you mature. You think overanalyzing makes you fair. You think triple checking your words makes you kind. And sometimes it does. But there's a difference between reflection and rumination. Reflection asks, did I act in alignment with my values? Rumination asks, am I fundamentally flawed? One builds growth, the other builds paralysis. And if you've been stuck in the second one, you're not broken, you're overwhelmed. Reason 3, you lost touch with your internal evidence. This one's big. When someone repeatedly questions your memory, your tone, your motives, your brain adapts. It stops trusting internal signals. It starts seeking external confirmation. So you ask, what would you do? Am I crazy? Tell me if I'm wrong. And every time someone reassures you, it feels good. But it also reinforces the idea that your clarity must come from outside. That's the trap. A quick win demo. Let's do something small. Think about a decision you're currently overthinking. Got it? Now answer this quickly, without analyzing. What do you already know? Not what feels safe, not what sounds reasonable. What do you know? Your first answer, the quiet one, is usually the truth. Notice how fast it came? Notice how you almost dismissed it? That's your intuition. It hasn't disappeared. It's just been interrupted. The one framework reset, the CLEAR method. Here's the framework I want you to remember. CLEAR. When you feel yourself spiraling into second guessing, walk through this. C, check the trigger. What just happened? Was it a tone shift? A delayed reply? A facial expression? Name it specifically. Vague fear loses power when it becomes concrete. L, locate the fear. What are you actually afraid of? Conflict, rejection, looking foolish, being misunderstood? Most second guessing isn't about the decision, it's about the consequence. E, extract the facts. Strip emotion out for a moment. What objectively occurred? Not what you imagined, not what you predicted, just facts. This anchors you back in reality. A, ask, if I trusted myself, what would I do? This question is powerful. It bypasses fear and goes straight to identity. If you trusted yourself fully, what action aligns? Notice how different that answer feels from what will keep everyone calm. R, respond once. Here's the rule. Respond once. Say what you mean, clearly, kindly, firmly, then stop. No over-explaining, no paragraph follow-ups, no emotional essays, just clarity, and let the chips fall. Why this matters more than you think. Second guessing doesn't just affect decisions, it affects identity. It makes you smaller in rooms you deserve to stand tall in. It makes you delay opportunities. It makes you stay in conversations longer than you should. And worst of all, it makes you doubt the part of you that has always known. But here's the hopeful part. The brain that learned self-doubt can learn self-trust. Clarity is a muscle, and you rebuild it through repetition. Small acts of alignment. Tiny moments of choosing your voice, even when it shakes. Let me ask you something personal. What would change in your life if you trusted your first instinct 10% more? Would you leave earlier, speak sooner, set boundaries faster, apply for that opportunity, walk away from that red flag? Imagine the version of you who doesn't spiral after every interaction. They exist. They're not fearless. They're just grounded. Rebuilding self-trust. Here's what this journey actually looks like. You start noticing when you're about to over-explain. You pause. You send the shorter message. Your heart races. Nothing explodes. You survive it. Then you do it again, and slowly, your nervous system learns. I can be honest and still be safe. That's the real win, not confidence. Safety in your own voice. A little humor. Can we admit something? Half the time, the other person isn't analyzing your text the way you are. They read it once, maybe twice, and move on. Meanwhile, you've rewritten it 6 times, asked a friend, checked your tone, and Googled, "Am I too direct?" It's exhausting and unnecessary. You deserve rest from that. Final reminder, you are not indecisive. You are not dramatic. You are not incapable. You adapted to environments that made self-trust feel risky, but you are allowed to unlearn that. Slowly, patiently, powerfully. So the next time you feel that spiral starting, remember the 5 miles, remember the 3 reasons. Remember clear and ask yourself, if I trusted myself, what would I do? Then take one small step in that direction. Not perfectly, just honestly. Because the goal isn't to eliminate doubt. It's to rebuild trust. And that begins the moment you decide. My voice matters. It always did, and it still does.